We've got some boots, these pants. I don't know what's up with the pants, but they got this fancy little thing in there. And so they say it's for horse riding. I don't know. And then the jacket. Everybody who's wondering about the hat, I know this seems to be a point of contention for some people because the one thing sticks out that it's supposed to do that. That's how they wear it. Oh, you want the spin? There you go. The boots, some of you are probably wondering why the toe is curled up. That is so it represents peace because they used to be under communist control. And so the boots mean that they're a peaceful country now. So they curl the toe up. I'm going to take the hat off so it doesn't distract everyone. All right, before we get into today's topic, I would like to pray one more time before we get started. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father in heaven, I want to thank you that I had this amazing opportunity to go out on mission work and do your service. I pray that you will help me be calm and show these people what you have done in my life and what you could do in theirs too. I pray that you will be with us today, and thank you for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I have a clicker thing here for the slides. I am not used to being up here. This is a very uncomfortable position for me, so please bear with me. Today's topic is my Mongolia mission this year in 2025. But before I get started, this was the scripture reading. Go ye into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. This is our calling from God, and I believe it is the most important and highest calling we have. In any case, I had the opportunity to go and serve in Mongolia this year, and while that was an amazing experience, I'd like to start from the beginning of my mission experiences. This was me at all of about 16 years old, just living my life to the fullest, as every kid does, and I figured, there's no reason for me to leave my home continent, and I'm pretty happy here. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to work my life away like everybody else does. Little did I know that very shortly my life would turn upside down. 2017, this was quite the year for me. I was going to school at Fountain View Academy, and during my time there, we had the interesting opportunity to go on my first mission trip. This wasn't a normal thing for all the students at Fountain View Academy. It was kind of a once in a blue moon kind of thing. Mostly the seniors went out on these trips, but this was one of the rare occasions that the whole school decided to up and go to another country. So we landed at the Chinggis Khan International Airport. It definitely does not look like this anymore. I wasn't sure where I landed this time, but it definitely changed in the past 8 years. And so this was the start of my big journey to the mission field, and I had no idea what was in store. This was a panoramic picture. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's very colorful houses over there. They've got different colors on every roof, and it gives for a very, even though the surrounding areas are kind of slummy and stuff, it gives a very uplifting, cheerful kind of vibe. Um, we did a lot of touring around, seeing different things. Obviously, I'm not sure what the position of the school was and their whole reason for taking us all on this trip, but as far as my standpoint was, I thought the school was there for only making music videos. But it turned into much more than that. This is a picture of pretty close to our hotel on the 2017 trip. These are the traditional houses, the yurts, or as they call them, gers. And they live in these things all year round. They have a canvas outside and they're insulated, usually with sheep's wool. And then they usually have a little wood stove in the center to heat them in the winter. They live in these because Mongolia is traditionally a nomadic country, and although that number is starting to dwindle, the tradition of living in these yurts has not. Let's see here. They're very interesting houses. Some of them are fancier than others. Some of them are decorated very ornately. They have hand carvings in a lot of them. Everything is carved and stamped, and it's very beautiful, actually. They like a lot of color over there, too, as you can see. This is some of the landscape. We did some music videos in this area. Unfortunately, all those were never released, but I'm happy that I still had the experience to go and see this place for myself. The most special part about Mongolia was the people, by far. These were some of the kids that I got to spend some time with. We ended up going around from town to town, church to church, visiting different little schools and churches and even some high schools. Here's a quote here. I don't know how well you can read that, but I found it very intriguing. Everyone who believes in Christ as a personal Savior is under bonds to God, to be pure and holy, to be a spiritual worker, seeking to save the lost, whether they are great or small, rich or poor, bond or free. The greatest work on earth is to seek and save those who are lost, for whom Christ has paid the infinite price of his own blood. Everyone is to do active service. The sheep unsought is not brought back to the fold. I found this to be a very powerful quote and very duty-filled. I think that we all have a very strong calling to do mission service of some kind. I have another Bible verse here, Matthew 14:23. Then the master said to the servant, "Go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled." Jesus is making it very clear that he wants us to help him go out and find the people who haven't heard about him yet, because at the end of the day, we all want as many people as we can to be in heaven with us. And I know you've heard the saying before, Jesus doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called, and I think it couldn't be more applicable. Back to the story. In 2017, I also had the opportunity to head to Peru. While I was at Fountain View, I had contacted my cousin because I knew she had gone on lots of mission trips before, and several of them had been in Peru, and I wanted to take the opportunity and go with her one time. Little did I know just how soon this would come, and in December of 2017, I landed in Peru. Pretty dark pictures, but on the left there, you can see my cousin is conducting a little VBS program for the kids in the city of Pucallpa. And on the right is their church. So that's where we had Sabbath every week. This was quite an experience for me. Although it was very similar on paper to my trip to Mongolia the first time, where we went and visited schools and did the little VBS programs and stuff, it was also different in so many different ways. I think, here's a picture of, I guess you'd call it a water hole in the middle of the jungle that we went swimming at. It was pretty warm water. We had bananas to eat. I'd never seen bananas like those ones. They were kind of really small, finger bananas, but when you peeled them, they were white, but when you bit in them, they were a dark orange. And they were the sweetest bananas I think I've ever eaten. On the right there, we've got a lizard, and I don't know what compelled one of the kids to do it, but I was sleeping, just enjoying my morning, you know, and then I just hear bang, 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 bang. I'm like, it's like the crack of dawn. What are we doing? Bang, 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 bang. And I was like, okay, well, fine, I'll get up. So I get up, I go to my door, I open it, and there's one of the local girls holding this lizard by the tail. And I was like, oh, wow, what's that for? And she said, look, it's for you. I got this for you. Isn't it nice? I was like, yes, it's really cool. What are you going to do with it? It's for you. Keep it. I was like, oh, great. Now I got a lizard. So I'm honestly not sure what I did with this lizard, disposed of it somehow. But it was a pretty cool lizard. I don't know why she had to bring it to me dead. But she was pretty proud of her gift to me, so I graciously accepted it. This experience was very interesting. We went on a lot of Bible studies to the different locals' houses and stuff, visiting people and spending time with them. And, you know, in the mission field, there's a lot of very interesting things that you end up doing or eating or seeing or whatever. And we ended up going on a Bible study to this one place, and they served us a bowl of purple corn juice jelly stuff, and it was cold. I think she called it soup, but I'm not convinced. And yeah, there's some interesting food out there, and that was one of them that I probably will try and avoid next time. But I graciously took it. I unfortunately do not have a picture of it, but it was very interesting. I discovered a technique. You just kind of take the spoon and you throw it to the back of your throat and swallow really quick. That way you don't taste it, you know? But the people there were beautiful people, and I love them all so much. It was an experience like no other. I mean, every country has its different things. None of them are the same. You go there to do the same things oftentimes, but very rarely do you come out with the same experience. And that is one of the things I love so much about doing this. In 2018, I don't remember what happened in 2018, I'll be honest. But, there it is. I went to Tanzania. My whole family and I packed up in, was it March? April? Somewhere around there. And we all took off to Tanzania. This was my first time to Africa and my third continent in 2 years. So I was a bit on a roll, and I was enjoying every bit of it. This is some pictures of the drive to where we were staying. As you can see, it's pretty jungly, and you got some of their little huts in the background there. While in Tanzania, we spent some of our time doing construction projects. On the left, you can see that Isaac and myself are there working together to clean up some rubble from the construction project for a new girls' dorm on the mission. And on the right, I am in the bulldozer clearing land for avocado orchards. Now, mission work can come in many shapes and sizes, and it doesn't always involve preaching or doing Bible studies, or even, any of the regular mission stuff, VBS or nothing like that. It can be a construction project to help the mission further their work. Here is some pictures of the land out there. We dug this big trench to put in a irrigation line for the avocado orchards. While I was there, they had roughly around 25,000 trees already planted and growing avocados. On the right, there's the nursery where they grow the new saplings for the orchards. They will take the avocado pit, they germinate it till it's 6-8 inches tall, and then they graft on the type of avocado they want. And the avocados, I don't have a picture of them, but they're about this big, and they're the butteriest, creamiest avocados you've ever had. So in 2019, actually, let me finish explaining 2018. The mission that we went to was Kibidula Farm Institute. And the reason they were building the dorm and the avocado orchards and all this was because they have an elementary school, an agricultural school, an evangelism school, a printing press, and lifestyle center, and some other things. They got a lot going on there, and they need a way to support this mission. So the avocados were going to be their income, and that's why they were trying to expand the production of the avocados. 2019, I landed in Zambia. I left on my birthday in September of 2019 and flew to a country that I had never been to see people I have never seen before. And I did this one all on my own. This was my first solo trip. And while it was a little frightening at first, I decided to remain in a excited and positive mindset so that I could only gain the benefits from this trip. I landed there, and this is there's 4 of us student missionaries. We had Josh on the left, and then the 2 Knowles, Alan and Pauline Knowles, they were the ones organizing the mission projects that we were going to be doing while there. And then the girls, Phoebe and Wynn, they were going to be working in the clinic at Riverside Farm Institute in Zambia. I spent a lot of my time here building these churches. It's basically just a structure that can hold a roof up, and then the locals would be putting on the walls for their church. Lots of them used either grass mats, some of them used brick, but they had the opportunity to choose what they decided to build their church out of. This was a group that was at the church build site. I think almost everyone in blue there was who was helping us build it. Everybody else was just from the village around and the locals who came to see what the commotion was all about. This church was quite the adventure to build. We drove across the country. While I was there, I think I spent around a month, and we built a little over 20 churches during the time I was there. And we made it to every corner of Zambia, which was an amazing experience. And I can say that I've completely seen that country now. This is the truck we used to transport those building materials, all the churches. We could hold 3 churches in this truck. all stacked up. And as you can see in this picture, we're a little bit stuck. This truck, I hadn't seen it get stuck very often. It could pretty much go through anything. It didn't stop at anything, and I really like this truck. I wish I had one. But it got stuck this time, and it was deep. The mud was all the way up to the belly, and the tires were just spinning on their own. There was no way that was going anywhere. So it gave us a great opportunity to get out and pray about our situation and ask God to help us with our situation and getting unstuck. And in this part of Zambia, there is no trees. This is a floodland, and so there's nothing that we could winch off of or anything like that, which made it a little bit more of a challenge. What we ended up doing was we unloaded the whole truck. We unloaded all 3 churches out of the truck, and there was a couple locals who came because they saw this massive truck stuck out in the middle of the plain and helped us unload it. And then we had to get the shovels out and start digging. So we were out there digging in the mud for several hours, digging out the belly of this truck until we figured we got it to a point where we might be able to manage it. Some of the locals brought some bundles of grass and stuffed it under the tires and some sticks and stuff. And then we prayed one more time before we tried to give it a go. And then our driver for that truck got in, and he gave it his best shot, and it didn't go anywhere. That thing was stuck. So we got the shovels back out and started digging some more, and we dug and dug and dug and dug, and then decided, well, maybe we'll hook the Land Cruiser up to it and try and winch it out with that. This is the Land Cruiser that we used. It's a lot smaller than the big truck we were pulling, but it was our only option. So we hooked it up and said, "Dear Lord, please make this work, because this truck is going to be here forever if it doesn't." So we hooked it up and we pulled, and that truck came right out. It was like nothing ever happened. So once we got this truck out, we kept driving, and I'm going to say the total trip took about 12 hours to get to this point, and we landed on the river bank. Now, this truck wasn't going to float down the river very well, so we unloaded one of the churches into a canoe, and that canoe took us an hour and a half downriver to a village. We landed at the village, and there was, as you can see, a million little kids wanting to know what on earth these white people are doing in our village. But they're always very excited to see you, and they're dancing and singing, and they always like the cameras because then they can see themselves. So that's always a big hit. But we loaded this church, we loaded it up into an ox cart, and from there we took a 1-hour ox cart ride into the middle of nowhere. And this landed us in another village that was our church site where we were going to build it. I don't have a picture of it, but they had a structure there already, but it was falling apart, and so we were going to build them a new church. So once we got there, you can see the structures behind it. It's not very visible, but it's still there. But we slept under that while we were building this church. So the village had everything ready for us. They had us food prepared. Oftentimes there, they'll eat rice with sour milk on it. It's chunky milk, and I like it. Not everybody does. They call it sawa, and I mean, it says what it is. It's sour milk on rice. But they also had a shower for us, and I wasn't too sure about the shower situation because it was just this grass circle, and it kind of had it was kind of like a snail shell, so you'd go in and around the corner, and then they had this big bucket of hot water, and then a bucket of cold water, and you kind of just mix it in the cup and take your bird bath. That's about as good as it got. We had the opportunity to do a different village, and all they had for showers was a river. And sometimes they have crocodiles and stuff, but you can't worry about that too much when you're over there because you'd rather smell good than not. So you just get in. So that shower situation is interesting because you have everybody and their dog watching you because they've never seen that. They never seen a white person in the river taking a bath. So it's a very entertaining experience having everybody watch you shower. But little did I know until after I got out of the river and I sent some pictures to my family and said, look what I showered in. This was great. And they said, oh, just make sure to wash yourself well so you don't have bilharzia. I was like, what is bilharzia? Like, I don't know what this stuff is. It's a parasite, apparently. It can go into your skin, and if you don't break off the tails by scrubbing yourself down after, then they can cause cancer and stuff. But in any case, I don't think I got that. I didn't have any signs of it, thankfully, but I wish they would have told me before I went swimming. But no, it was good. We had a lot of time to spend with the people and get to know them. We spent a lot of time sleeping in mud huts with the thatch roofs. They're notoriously known for bugs. But I don't know. I slept like a baby. I don't have a problem with that. One thing I must warn you about in Zambia is they have really good watermelon. And I didn't get a picture of them, but they're very large. Like very large. And they're so sweet. And when I have something that's really good, I have a problem not being able to stop eating it. So I ate a whole watermelon before bed, which may or may not be a good decision. The next morning, I woke up in a panic at 3 a.m, like, where's the bathroom? But we made it safely and survived the night. They also have a drink there called chibwantu. My mom can tell you she thinks it tastes like vomit. It's a fermented corn drink and slightly sweet, but definitely fermented. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a strange drink. You'd have to try it to know what I'm talking about. But I enjoy that stuff. They said that they drink it, with every meal. And they said it's not a meal if you don't have 5 to 6 cups of that. So I had that on top of my watermelon as well. So, yeah, just watch out when you're in Zambia for the watermelon and stuff. After Zambia, I headed back to Tanzania. This here, you can see me on a tractor in the avocado orchard. I was mowing the lanes between the trees there. And then we got some landscape there on the right from that area that Kibidula is at. I don't know how long I spent here this time, but it was immediately after going to Zambia. My trip to Tanzania from Zambia was fairly eventful. I've never done anything like it before and nothing like it since. buses in Africa are particularly special situations and sometimes questionable. They dropped me off in Lusaka at the day before, and at 3 in the morning, I was taken to the bus station and dropped off and said, okay, we'll see you later, good luck. I was like, all right, now, there's 150 buses here, which one is mine? So you got your ticket there and you're wandering around asking everybody, hey, does this look right? So you spend an hour doing that, hoping you'll find your bus before it leaves. Unfortunately, Zambia is an English-speaking country. It's one of their main 5 languages. They speak English, Lozi, Tonga, Bemba, and something else. But almost every every Zambian knows most of these 5 languages. But thankfully, English is fairly prevalent, so you don't have too hard a time getting around. Eventually, one of the locals helped me find my bus and toured me over to it and said, this is it, we'll see you later. So I got on, and it was going to be a 14-hour bus ride. But in Africa, that doesn't always just stick with the estimated time. It usually ends up being longer due to multiple situations. We drove for many hours, and in every town, they slow the bus right down, and you got all the street vendors holding up their food to your window so you can buy some food and some snacks off them. Lots of it is like roasted corn, or sometimes you get, they have rats on sticks, which is barbecued rat is pretty popular. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but wasn't mine either. I didn't try it. So they stop in all these little villages, you get your stuff, and you carry on. That can take some time. And then we got to the border, and everybody had to exit the bus. And at Tanzanian border, we had to cross through on our own and then spend the night in Tanzania. We had to figure all this stuff out without any guidance from anyone. So we got off the bus, we went through the border, and then I got on the other side, and I'm looking around, and there's not a whole lot of anything. I'm like, all right, where's the nearest town? So somebody pointed me in a direction. I was like, okay, I guess that'll do. So I start walking that way, and sure enough, there I find a little village, and I'm like, now I need to find a phone plan so I can get what I need and make sure I'm not lost. So I wander around. It's about 10 p.m. at this time, and it's the middle of the night, and I can't see anything. Everybody's hiding in their little stalls with a very dimly lit lamp somewhere off in the distance, and I'm wandering around looking for a phone plan. That was interesting. You're always checking your back because you don't know what's going on in the dark. But I found my phone plan. I ended up getting a taxi, and I said, take me to a hotel. I don't care where. He's like, all right, I'm going to make him pay. So we drove for a long ways. We were driving and driving. I'm looking around, like checking my scenery. Okay, got to remember all this, otherwise I'll never get back. And he brought me to this tiny little hotel. It had, 4 rooms in it. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. And so I paid for the night. I slept. The same guy showed up in the morning, ready to take me back to the town. I was like, oh, sweet. They know what's going on. I can deal with this. So I paid him to take me back to the town, and then had to find my bus from there again. And, when you're doing this stuff, you kind of, at least I kind of forget all the details on what happened, but I found my bus. And then we started off towards the town that I was headed to called Mafinga. And this bus ride, like I said, was a very interesting one. You had chickens running up and down the aisles, and you had people shouting, and I had this guy who had a bottle in a paper bag beside me telling me that it was medicine. And I was like, yep, I'm sure it is. And so, yeah, it was a very long bus ride. And we ended up breaking down about half an hour from where I was supposed to be dropped off. And my uncle was waiting for me in that town, wondering where I was, and I was in the middle of nowhere, had no service, bus was broken down, so I'm like, well, I guess we're just going to sit around and enjoy the sights and sounds, you know? So we sat there, and those guys were under the hood for quite some time, just working away on this bus. And I don't know what the issue was, but they got it running, and we made it back to Tanzania, where then I got to start this adventure. I don't have very many pictures from this part of the trip, just because I was too busy having fun and working, so sorry guys. But I spent a lot of time on the fields, either mowing the ones that have already been planted or fertilizing and getting ready for the new trees. On this trip, I was curious to see exactly how far this mission had progressed from the first time I went to Tanzania. And when was the first time I went? 2018. So in the 1 year I was gone, a little over a year, they had almost completely finished planting 50,000 more trees. So they were up to 75,000 avocado trees at this point, and they had started construction on a pack house so they could pack them and ship them to Europe and Asia. So I helped work on that project for quite a while, and yeah, it was a very good experience. And I think personally for me, I do enjoy the whole doing children's programs and preaching and stuff, but I also really, really enjoy doing projects that I can really work with my hands, because that's kind of my area of expertise at this point. So after that, there was a big blank gap in my mission experiences. I had this hole because the great event of COVID-19 happened and landed me at home just before COVID happened. I landed and then it shut down. And so I was stuck at home with nothing to do, no job, wondering what on earth the point was. And this was a pretty difficult time for me. I was trying to get into school for automotive maintenance, and that was shut down because I had no money to pay for it. I lost my job that I had for 2 weeks while I was there because COVID, just everything kind of crumbled around me, and I was wondering what life was going to hold from then on. So after things started opening up, I got some jobs and I was working, and I kind of just stuck myself into the workforce, figuring, you know what, I've done a lot in the past few years. I need to stick my nose to the grindstone and get a career under my belt, which I'm still working on. But we did do one mission trip with my mom. She organized a group called Mission North, and we went to Lytton in 2020. I did not put any pictures on here for that, but we went to Lytton in 2020 to help the community there with whatever their needs may be. And so we have some friends there who organized kind of the community and said, hey, there's this group coming, what do you want us to do? And so we ended up spending time cleaning the town weeding the sidewalks and spending time with the native people there. And we had a good experience doing that. And I think, was that a month? Yeah, we spent a month doing that. But that was kind of in this COVID gap where we weren't really sure what was going on. And so after that, we continued working, and I worked and worked and worked, and inevitably, I got wrapped up in the whole thing. And, my whole life was just based around making money and, being successful, making sure that I was making good decisions so that I could one day support a family or whatever. And, you can try your hardest, but if you're not doing what God wants, it doesn't really get you very far. So at this point in my life, I was kind of wondering, what's next? What on earth is the point of just working for myself? It doesn't bring any fulfillment, doesn't bring me any joy, and it just really did nothing for me. So I spent a lot of my time wondering what I should do, and I felt the call to go and do some more mission trips. But I was like, I'm focused. I'm going to work and stuff, and I think that one day it'll fulfill me. That does not work out so well, but I kept doing it anyways. And I am thankful that I had the opportunity to break that chain this year and go out on another mission trip, because I find that the most fulfilling work is the work you do for God. Whether it's in your own hometown or across the world, it doesn't matter. This verse is Matthew 19:26. But Jesus looked at them and said to them, with men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. This was kind of the mindset that I had to have to go on this last mission trip. I'm in debt. I need to pay things off. And I have no money, especially not to go gallivanting around the world doing whatever I want. And my mom, same situation. And in December last year, my aunt had told me, hey, I'm going to Mongolia on this mission trip, and I know you've been there before, and I know you really like it. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, you know what? That would be a great idea. But I'm broke, so I guess we'll see. And so, I sat on that opportunity for a long time, and I don't know. Let me think here. It was several months, and I just totally forgot about it. Got back working, was busy again, forgot about it completely. And then a few of our church members here were talking about mission projects that could possibly happen with our church. And it got me looking into, the mission projects around the world again. And I scrolled across that one in Mongolia. And on the top of it, it said, closing soon. And I was like, oh, well, that's not good. Because I hadn't made up my mind yet. But I figured after about 2 minutes, I was like, yep, we're doing it. And so I made the decision to do it. And I signed up that day. And I had no idea where this money was going to come from. And I am very grateful to many of the church members here and also other people around the world and who helped make this happen for me. It was truly a miracle from God, and I couldn't have done it myself. my mom wanted to go to Mongolia all her life. And I said, well, I'm going, I don't have the money, but I'm going. And I'm going to make it happen. And she said, yeah, well, I wish I could, but I just can't make it happen. And I was like, yeah, well, there seems to be somebody who can. And if it's his will, it'll happen. So she signed up and almost immediately had a couple people contact her and say, hey, look, we're willing to pay your way. So she also got to come, and I think God was really working in that, and I am super grateful for everything God has done and also the generosity of people. I don't know where to point this thing. I'm just pointing it. But anyways, Mongolia Mission 2025. This was my adventure all of about a week and a half ago. And it kind of re-sparked that passion for the mission field that I had before. These are the statistics from Mongolia. The religious statistics, most of Mongolia is Buddhist, with a large portion being non-religious, and then we've got some various other religions in there, with Christianity being just over 1%, which is a pretty rough statistic, because that doesn't mean even just Adventism, that's Christianity as a whole. And so it is a very, very unreached country. And I think there is so much work that needs to be done there. The total population of Mongolia is about 3.3 million right now. And I would say here is a Mongolian man holding a golden eagle. Most of the people are now living in the cities, but about 30 to 40% are still nomadic people. I think, as far as I can remember, Mongolia is the last, maybe one of the last nomadic countries in the world. And it's starting to dwindle now, but there's still a lot of them out there. The traditional houses look like this. This is a yurt. You may have seen my parents' one. It's a bit more of a modern style, but this is more of a traditional one that most of the people have. They have these out in the countryside, but also in the city. Like the suburbs around the major city have a lot of these. Everybody has one in their backyard if they don't live in one. So this was one of our church sites. My mom and I were working at this one, along with another gentleman from Florida. But yes, this is what they live in. And out of the 3.3 million people in the country, about half of them live in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. This is our total mission team, aside from the photographer who is behind the camera. We had 20 of us total. Most of us were a little more elderly, but it wasn't going to stop them from doing what God had called them to do. There was our youngest there was 14 on the right, and our oldest was late 70s, I think. Oh no, 80s. She was 82, I think. So we had a pretty large range of ages in our group that went, and it made for a very well-rounded experience. This was us going to visit the churches. You can see my mom and my aunt walking there. We took a bus ride most of the way to the church and then had to walk through the the village to get to it. This is one of the little kids and his dog from that church as well. This is a couple other kids, and then the actual church yurt. You can see, kind of hard to see, but the doors are very well carved, hand carved and painted, all super fancy like. And this is quite common. They're a little bit more of an expensive yurt, but still very, very common. So we spent the first first day of our trip touring around to the different church sites. We had 5 different church sites where we were going to be doing our work. And this ended up, it showed us the different ways that they have church. Lots of the churches in Mongolia are unregistered as churches. So they have to be registered as learning centers or healing centers or something like that. So every church has a purpose besides just being a church. We spent a couple of our mornings doing visitations to different local families. These families were spread out all over the city. Some of them lived in houses, some of them lived in yurts. We visited one man who lived in a room. He had a maybe 12 by 8 room, and that was his house. But this family was quite a large family living in a house, and as you can see, they have lots of kids and grandkids. So they were all very happy to see us. We brought them little gifts, some squishy toys and punching balloons for the kids, and some food treats for everyone, as it is tradition for them to give a little gift every time you visit someone. When you visit these places, they will often serve you something, whether it's candy or tea. Their tea of choice is milk tea, and it's just hot milk with salt in it. So if you like salty milk that's hot, you'll love it there. They like this stuff. So we ended up drinking a lot of that. Lots of people were like, is it horse milk? Because I don't think I'll drink horse milk. And I'm like, why are you worrying about it? You're a missionary. Just drink the milk. So, because that is a thing. They drink horse milk. Their livestock usually consists of camels, yaks, horses, sheep. That's about it. So a lot of what they eat and drink comes from those animals. They eat a lot of sheep and horse. They like horse. So it's an interesting culture. It's very foreign to some of us, but I find it's very intriguing. And so this is another, the old lady on the right there. She was the person we were visiting, and she had 2 little grandkids there, right there in the middle with my mom. And all the kids there seem to be the cutest thing ever. You just can't help yourself but want to take all of them home, which unfortunately is not an option. I know my mom would probably have brought 20 back if she could have. The gentleman on the right there is our other team member from our church. This is another family we visited. It's just the 2 children there. The lady on the left is the pastor of the church we were at. Over in Mongolia, gender means nothing. If you're called by God, you do the work. And so she was doing the work God called her to do and helping us translate for visiting these different people. These 2 poor kids were living alone. Their parents were both alcoholics and spent most of their time away from home and left the kids to fend for themselves. The one of the church members lived next door, so she took care of them. She came over and fed them and made sure that they were at least in one piece. But this is the way that a lot of the kids grow up. Their parents, either drink or get divorced, and then they're kind of left to the wind, or the grandparents, or whoever seems to come by. Fortunately, they're very decent children and very calm and respectful. And honestly, they could use all of your prayers because they're in a tough situation, and it's not fair for them. But that's the cards they were dealt. So there was a lot of interesting places we visited, and a lot of people with a lot of different stories, and it really helped give us a perspective of the people we were working with and the points of need that were in this country and where we could help. This is our team here at the Genesis Church, is what our church was called, and we would be spending every evening here doing seminars and children's programs, like a VBS kind of thing, while the seminar went on. This is inside. They had the screen set up, and our pastor would stand in the corner with the translator, and they would preach. We would always play a video about the life of Jesus before we started every seminar. And so it was split up into 8 different parts, and always left on a cliffhanger so people would come back for the movie. That was kind of their bait. So I think most of the people would have come anyway. Sorry, my tooth elastics for my Invisalign keep breaking. So yeah, we spent a lot of time here. This church was pretty small. I think the total diameter of this yurt was maybe 20 feet, and it was packed every night. This is the tent that we were doing the children's program in. You can see my mom there, telling a story. I don't even know which one that is, but she's telling a story, and she's doing a good job. The kids were always very invested in these stories, and they loved it. Some of them got distracted. As you can see, the adults in their program were also invested in enjoying that. The gentleman with his hand up there in the brown shirt was one of our taxi drivers. He had cerebral palsy, but it didn't stop him from doing anything. He was a very helpful gentleman and would do anything for you. He had also had a great sense of humor, I'm sure, if I spoke Mongolian, because he laughed a lot. But they all enjoyed the program. As you can see, our team member there, Ron, he loved the people and spent a lot of time talking to them as best he could, and lots of charades going on. That kind of stuff, making sure they knew what he was saying, But these are some of the kids during our children's program listening to the story and also doing some crafts, lots of coloring, and they like the scissors a lot too. It's hard to keep them from cutting each other's hair sometimes, but but we do our best. We also did clinics. As you can see, I'm taking blood pressures here, and they're testing eyes. The clinic consisted of, they would start with the blood pressures, so I would send them through, we'd test their blood pressure, let them know if it was high or low, and then we'd send them to blood sugar, and then they could talk to them a little more about the blood sugar and the blood pressure and that stuff. And then we would go through and they would get their eyes tested so they could get reading glasses if they needed. So we provided everyone we could with reading glasses. And it seemed to be a fairly successful endeavor. Several of the days we had about 80 people go through, and then a couple others we had 40 people. So a lot of people went through and received some reading glasses and also some stats on where their health was at. After every, there I am again, testing blood pressures. After every medical thing, the church leaders of that specific church that we were doing it at would gather the people that went through and talk to them about how to live a healthier life and about the different, how their blood pressure and stuff affected them and where they could find help and whatnot. They also collected all the information from the people who went through, their phone number and stuff, so that they could call them back and check up on them and make sure that they were still doing well, but also to see if they were interested in studying the Bible. So this was a great opportunity for not only to help the people understand where their health was at, get them reading glasses, but also to give them an opportunity to get in touch with the church and hopefully find God through the church members in Mongolia. My mom is telling a story here. As you can see, the children have their rapt attention, and it was a very comical story about Africa and my mom's parents there, miracle stories. So, of course, everybody was very riveted because nobody hears about this kind of stuff very often, and you'll have to get her to tell the story one day. But this is some more pictures from our children's program. These kids were always very, very excited. The two little girls in red there, they always came matching. I don't know if it's a Mongolian thing, but a lot of their little kids match, even if they're not twins. They just do that. So they were always there on time, if not early, ready to go. You can see my mom is playing a game. We made these little blindfolds because we were telling the story of Paul when he was persecuting the Christians and then got blinded and everything. So we made the blindfolds, and then we were supposed to tell them by voice and direct them around a little obstacle course and get them back to the start without crashing into anything, which turned out to be a very exciting event for them, especially when I was blindfolded. And they decided that they were going to direct me around everything very carefully. And just when they had my trust, they said, "Okay, turn right." And I turned right. And they said, "Nope, too far, a little left." So I turned a little left, and then they said, "Go straight." And they walked me straight into a pole. All of them were fairly amused by that. But yeah, we spent a lot of time playing with these kids, doing running races, playing ball. So they had a good time. One day, the church members, they got these books, and I don't know what they are, but they're very, very nice books. They're Bible stories. I'm not sure which Bible stories, but all of the illustrations are very well done, and they gave them out to every kid that was there to have their own book at home. The kids got comfortable by the time we were leaving. This was nearing the end of our stay at this church. They were all very happy. This was our most exciting craft for them, was a crown made out of a paper plate. The boy in the middle didn't want to make a crown, so he made a ninja mask, as you can see. But they were all very invested in that project, and they got very comfortable with us, and we're happy to share. The girl in the pink and the boy in the middle there, by this point, they were bringing us little treats every day, candies of different kind, to share with us because they wanted us to try something that they gave them. So we got a lot of little snacks from these two, which was really cute. we ended up being able to do a little touring around. This is the Chinggis Khan Memorial. It is the largest statue in the world, as far as I know. And I don't know if you can see that little speck on top, but that is a person standing up there on the mane of the horse. It's a very large building, and it has a museum downstairs as well. But we got to go see that. Outside, we had camels. Some of our group got to ride the camels, which I think they really enjoyed that. It's an experience you don't get very often. And they also had golden eagles there, which I did not add a picture of. We also carried on that day and went to a Buddhist monastery. This was a meditation temple of theirs. And I didn't know that they had different kinds of temples, but this is what we learned. And so they had this very long path that went up to this little pavilion thing. And along the path, there was signs with different quotes. And I didn't take any pictures of them because I just wanted to see the temple part. But I think my mom took pictures of a few of them, and they have actually very quite profound quotes on them that I think can be applicable in our lives. But from that little pavilion there, they had this spinning thing, which I'm not sure what it's for. I assume it's some kind of prayer or something or other. And then there's another trail that continues off, and you cross a suspension bridge and then up this big steep walkway to the temple. Inside the temple, this is kind of what it looks like. We've got the prayer wheels on the left there, and then we have their God in the middle there, and a little bit of the roof on the right there. Very colorful at these places. I've never been inside a temple like this. Last time I went to Mongolia, I think we went to a palace, and it was similar style, but just not quite as colorful, and not used as much, I don't think. But this one was built in, I think it was built 21 years ago, whatever that adds up to, because they had several of the temples destroyed by the USSR during their reign in Mongolia. These are the kids. This is that day we made the crowns. They all enjoyed that. It was hard to get all these kids into a picture and make sure that they were paying attention, but we managed somewhat. Honestly, these little guys are the reason I love this country so much. I fell in love with the country because of the kids, and the people here are the most generous, kind, and compassionate people you will ever meet. It is also one of the safest countries you could ever go to. Very few people steal there. You have to be in a really crowded, tight market to ever worry about it. I went to the amusement park with one of the locals there, and there was money on the ground, but nobody would touch it just because it wasn't theirs. So, you don't really have to worry about them. You could leave your car unlocked or anything, and they don't want it, which is, really cool to see. Their culture is really based on respect, and I think that it's really instilled in them at a young age, and it really makes, the people there quite special. Obviously, there's special people all over the world, but these are the ones I fell in love with out of all the places I've been in, and I'm definitely going back to see them again. Every church spends their time doing massages and some kind of medical therapy. Every time we showed up, they were, at least a couple hours into their program already doing this before we showed up. So they do this almost every day of the week, and they they serve the people in their local communities as best they can and do what they can for the people when it comes to massage and also their spiritual needs. You can see here they're given head massages and feet massages. Lots of the people come in with lots of conditions, and they seem to know how to cure it, or at least alleviate some of the issues that these people have. And I think that their work is very important, and more people need to be doing church like they do. This is the church on one of our first nights there. As you can see, very full, very, very full. And these people really, really use these churches. They are well used. This church in particular had a lot of damage. You can see the stains. We've got quite a bit of stains on the roof from water damage. The ground would often get washed through the yurt because of heavy rains, because the yurt is not high enough. So when we got there, they had to wash down the whole yurt, and it stunk because they use sheep wool to insulate them, so it smelled like sheep really strong in there, and mold. So this particular yurt is not in great condition. You can see sort of that there's some cracks up there by the dome that you can see the daylight through, and we had one day where it was really pouring rain and it was coming right through the roof. But this is their church, and you can see this is how they ventilate it so it doesn't get all moldy and stinky. But it's pretty tattered, and it's a pretty rough church. But I think this gives a great opportunity to be able to help these people. And my mom and I are going to be working on a project to raise funds to pour them a cement pad that elevates their yurt, but also to get them a new yurt so that they can worship and do their service in something that isn't falling apart, and something that can smell a little better. I think they would really appreciate that. I'd also like to talk about, a lot of the church members have been asking for a mission opportunity in this church for the young people in particular. And so I figured I'd take this time to say what I have found. There is a mission trip during Christmas break in India, and I think it would be a fantastic opportunity. It is being hosted by Maranatha, and it's considered a family mission trip, and is available to people of all ages. So I think that would be a great opportunity. If you want information on that, just let me know, and I can get you the information on that. But yeah, look forward to that. Hopefully we can make that happen. And I think that if you can't go, your support for other people who want to go but aren't able to would be greatly appreciated by everyone. Here's my conclusion. As you can see here, we have a lot of people up on stage. We had 22 baptisms on the last Sabbath we were there. And this was a very special day for not only us, but for every church that we had, and every church around. This was truly, truly a blessing to see so many people giving their hearts to God. And after every baptism, they gave them a new Bible and a little gift. And I think it was really special to see. Here's a quote. Let me read it from here because I can't read backwards. All around us are souls going down to ruin, as hopeless, as terrible as that which befell Sodom. Every day the probation of some is closing. Every hour some are passing beyond the reach of mercy. And where are the voices of warning and entreaty to bid the sinner flee from their fearful doom? Where are the hands stretched out to draw him back from death? Where are those who with humility and persevering faith are pleading with God for him? You know, it's one of those things, like mission work can come in so many different shapes and forms, and you don't have to be good at all of them. You don't have to even do all of them. But I feel like it is so important that even where you are right now, to be reaching out to the people and making sure that they know the loving Jesus that we know. And it's really one of those things that, we all go through our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, this is our main purpose on this earth and our highest calling from God. And I think that we need to respect that. Isaiah 6:8 says, "Also I heard a voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here I am, send me.'" Your support in the missions in the future will always be appreciated. And God is willing to work with you and through you to do all of the missions that you intend to do as well. You don't have to go out to the foreign mission field, because there is a lot of work here at home too. But if you do choose to, God is going to be your greatest help and the only one that you'll be able to rely on anywhere in the world. And he can do anything for you. If you can't afford it, he can. If you don't have the time, he can make the time. You just gotta ask him and make sure it's his will. With that, let's close with prayer. Dear Father in heaven, I want to thank you for giving us such a beautiful opportunity to spread your love and your message with people here where we are and also all over the world. I want to thank you for being with us and guiding us as we navigate life and giving us a true purpose and a high calling that we may follow you to the end of our days and to the best of our abilities. I want to pray that you will be with us all and that you will guide us in our next steps and to be a light in the world for you. In Jesus' name, amen.